To apologize for my voice. I've been in Nebraska for 10 days, and the humidity and the heat index was 105, and I was talking for 6 hours straight, so my voice is a little weak, so I apologize for that. But anyway, I am so pleased to be here and proud of what we have done as far as a rodeo community to promote the sport of rodeo. And to give you a little history, in the early beginnings, in the valley, Wasatch County began the traditional as an agricultural fair. And in the 20th century, local farmers and ranchers, 4-H groups, they got together and they showed livestock, they showed crops, they showed produce that they had. They handcrafted quilts back in the day, and baking goods, agriculture skills. The fair served as both competitive and community celebration, reflecting the most important part of farming and ranching to Wasatch County. The birth of the Mountain Valley Stampede is a little bit interesting in the fact that rodeos became very, very popular in the American West. And Wasatch County added a rodeo competition to its fair. Over time, rodeo evolved into the Mountain Valley Stampede, and I'll tell you that story in just a few minutes. But in the early days, it was just known as the Wasatch County Fair and Rodeo. Just right. And the first rodeo that they had was up Center Street. Yeah, up Center Street at the old mill, and there was some old rodeo grounds there. And they just rode calves, and it was more of a kids and just a fun activity. And so later on, after they moved out of there, they built the old fairgrounds. And the fairgrounds, they started what was called the RCA. That's the Rodeo Cowboy Association. Today it's the PRCA, but back in those days it was just the RCA. And with that, they hired a stock contractor by the name of Swanee Kirby. Now Swanee Kirby was, well, before I tell you about Swanee Kirby, I want to tell you about the very first clown that we had at our local rodeo. This is him. His name is Ellis Clyde.
Oh, yeah.
I can see some of you remember Ellis Clyde. I'll pass this around. You can tell just by his picture what kind of a character he was. I'll just pass that around. But Ellis was the very first clown. And Ellis always had a float in the parade. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
By today's standards, Ellis probably couldn't do what he did back then. It would be very offensive, because he would ride down Main Street dressed as a woman with a bra on the outside, playing the saxophone. And he had a band. It was the Ellis Clyde Band, and they used to play every Friday and Saturday night at the old social hall with the bouncy floor. And that just gives you a little bit of background of Ellis Clyde. So he was a fun guy. But anyway, getting back to, they built the fairgrounds, and they went to a program called the RCA, and they hired a stock contractor by the name of Swanee Kirby. Remember him, John? Swanee Kirby was a showman. I mean, he was the pinnacle of showmanship. He owned a company called Bar T Rodeos. And Swanee always rode a big Palomino horse, and he always had in his rodeos the serpentine ride. Now the serpentine ride, they would put flag carriers, like 3 on each side, and then he would ride a serpentine, and all the cowboys and cowgirls would have to follow him. And he only loped. He never ran. So the serpentine ride and the rodeo started out about 15 minutes before we bought the horse, because Swanee was doing, and just a kind of a sidelight, he used to keep his roping calves over to Click Probst's. You don't know Click Probst, but some of you don't. Anyway, they used to keep the roping calves over there, and I was about 12, 13 years old, and my best friend was Jim Probst. And Jim and I would go up to the corral, and we would rope these roping calves, and then we would get on and ride it. And if you know that corral, it's got pot rock all over it. And so you wanted to stay on as long as you could and find a good soft place to land so you didn't land on some pot rock. But anyway, we used to do that. I don't think Click or Swanee ever knew that we rode his calves. So, but anyway, Swanee was a real professional showman. The rodeo stayed that way for several years, all the time I was growing up, and it was just a fun thing. When I was on my way over, I was talking to a friend of mine, Tom Whitaker, and he said, "Brent, remember the time?" And the rodeo used to be put on by the Heber Valley Rodeo Club, and they would patrol the fences so that none of the kids would get in free. So they were patrolling the fences, and Tom says, "Remember when we pushed over that snow fence and all of us ran in and got in free?" I said, "Tom, I don't remember that. I don't think I was there." I always paid my ticket. But anyway, after Swanee, and after the Heber Valley Riding Club, I think they got tired or something. I don't know what happened. But they decided to go to an amateur rodeo. And instead of going to a PRCA rodeo, they went to an amateur rodeo. And one of the first contractors was Young and Young Rodeo, Gerald Young out of Peoria, Utah. I'm bringing back memories, aren't I, John? Young and Young Rodeo. And they put on a really good rodeo. But it was amateur. You didn't have any professionals. You had locals. And one of the best ropers in the valley was a guy by the name of Harold Christensen. He was a roper. Clark Fitzgerald, another one. Great ropers. And so they went to an amateur rodeo, and it lasted for 4 or 5 years, and then they had another stock contractor from the basin he was O'Driscoll. And that's when I think the county commissioners decided to go back to a professional rodeo. And so they contacted Mary and I, and we got involved in sending out bids and making sure that things were right to get a professional rodeo back into the thing. It didn't work out real good. Some of the things that happened, and so there was one more year of amateur rodeo, and that's when O'Driscoll was the stock contractor. Louis Fields at the time was a great saddle bronc rider, and it was just at the end of his career, and he teamed up with a guy by the name of Steve Gilbert, and they formed a rodeo company called Diamond G Rodeos. The county went to Bob McPhee and said, "Bob, would you be the chairman of the rodeo?" If you know Bob, that just said, "Yes, I'll do that." But the first person he called was me and Mary to be co-chairmans with him. And I remember going to the homestead, and Louis Fields and Steve Gilbert were there, and we signed a 5-year contract with them. And that was the beginning, well, maybe not the beginning, but part of the beginning of a PRCA rodeo. And it went from that to a PRCA rodeo, which it is today. And instead of saying, let's call it the Wasatch County Fair and Rodeo, we need to find a new name. And when we hired Diamond G, this was his chaps, and he always had flag girls all in these chaps, and so he was very he was like Swanee. They were very professional. And, excuse me. And when Mary and I were going down Provo Canyon one day, and we said, Wasatch County Fair and Rodeo, that just doesn't kind of do something. And so we decided to rethink it and rename it. Let's rename it, now that it's a PRCA rodeo, let's rename it to something else that goes with the valley. And so Mary's the one that came up with the idea. Mountain Valley Stampede. Good deal. Let's do it. And so that was the beginning of the Mountain Valley Stampede. And we had a great rodeo for many, many years. And it's even better today than, Bob's passed away, so we can talk about him. And so he formed a committee. BJ was on that committee, and we would have committee meetings at the hub starting at about in February, it seemed like. And we'd have one a month, and then when we'd get closer to the time of the rodeo, then it was weekly. Pete Probst was on the committee, John was on the committee. We had a big committee, and it just made the rodeo go really, really well. Now, rodeo has changed in the last 50 years. In fact, I have just a little silent movie that I want to show you, one of the first rodeos in Heber Valley. And I got this from the Daughters of the Utah Pioneers. Lana Nelson had this that her great-grandfather had filmed in 1935. And so it lasts 15 minutes, but I don't want to bore you. Not bore you, but I think you'll find it real interesting because it shows the parades, shows the races. But we'll just show you the rodeo part and show you the difference in then and now. So that's our trick ropers. This is part of the little tricks. And they had horse races on Saturday afternoon every year. This was the first saddle bronc rider. There's another saddle bronc rider. Look at them horses. You can see the grandstands there. Whoops, I need to get off. Look at the bulls that they were bucked. They were like yearling cattle, yearling calves.
That means trouble.
Yeah. This is the tie-down roper. Let me get my string out. One. Yep. And raise my hand in the air. You can catch as catch can, and that's what he did. Is that a goat?
It's a goat.
I believe that's a goat. This is the steer wrestling.
Who's wrestling who?
Those are bigger than the bulls, they were right.
I'm trying to help her. That's so great.
Is that over by the old fairgrounds?
Yeah.
So great. So
Look at this.
Oh, wow.
Redneck cutter race.
Redneck cutter races. That's the bareback riding. 2 hands.
What a treasure.
Yeah.
What's that? What guy's name? Oh, Kenny Mayer.
Oh, yeah.
And this link will be on the library's webpage under our local resources, as well as Brent Kelly's speech.
might have been.
Oh, look at the tilt whirl. Sharpshooters.
No way.
Okay, that's good. So you can see, rodeo has evolved just a little bit from then until now. I was going to tell you, down where the rodeo grounds are today, there were some grandstands that was on the north side, and they changed them. They changed them from the north side around to the south side, and then eventually they were all wooden, and so they were pretty rickety. And eventually we tore them down, and we have a state-of-the-art facility now that John and his crew has put together that is just unbelievable. Give you a little history. From 1970s to 1980, rodeo was developed into becoming as known as the Mountain Valley Stampede, attracting and increasing competitive contestants from around the region and also the nation. In 1991, carnival rides, concerts, demolition derbies, and the expanded youth livestock program became a permanent part of the Wasatch County Fair. 2005, the new Wasatch County Event Complex opened and hosted its first event, giving the fair a modern and permanent home. 2009, the new outdoor arena was completed and significantly expanded to seat, how many can we seat, John, now? 7,000. To seat 7,000. 2011, the warm-up arena was added and a large livestock stall barn was added, which is unbelievable. If you go to any other facility, I don't care where you go, Wasatch is second to none in the facilities that we have with the stall barns and the stalls that we have. In 2010, the Mountain Valley Stampede becomes recognized as one of Utah's premier PRCA rodeos featuring nationally ranked contestants, fireworks, specialty acts, and youth events. At this time, I'd like to call my wife up to come up. I need some moral support. I'd like to ask you what you remember as far as changing the name and the different stock contactors. This helps me.
This is really mean. I didn't have time to think about this. But we've been involved in rodeo pretty much all of our married lives. So when Bob asked us to come work with him, it was really an honor to work with Bob. He was amazing. And we both had the same vision. I mean, both. All of us.
All three of us.
All three of us. We had the same vision. We wanted to make it one of the best. And that was what we set out to do. As far as the name change, I don't know that I personally came up with the name change, but we had ideas. And we went before we all met together and we all had our committee there and we all sat down. Mountain Valley Stampede was one that we came up with, like you said, when we were driving to Provo one day. And we said, we need something that talks about our valley. And now, as Brent said, this is one of the top rodeos in the West. And, we're very proud of it.
And we've got to tell them that the reason that it's one of the best is because the community and the commissioners and all of them have put up money.
And
prize money.
They got behind us.
And they got behind us.
They got behind us because they wanted it to be the
That's
best
why we
too.
get the NFR Cowboys, because we have good prize money, And
that's
so
what it
that's
took.
what it brings.
That's what it took, was to put up the money to get them here. And then when you get them here, you sell out your crowds. And
I think we're pretty well sold out, aren't we, John? Maybe?
Thursday, a little light, but Friday, Saturday.
Yeah. Okay.
I always called Thursday the gravy anyway, That was just another one you kind of put in there. So that's kind of the gravy on the rest of it. So I felt like. But
Okay.
no, I'm very impressed with John and his crew and what they have done with it all these years since we've retired.
Or died.
Yes, or died. But no, it's one of the best. And I bet there's a lot of you that have memories about the rodeos. And would you like to share any of those memories? I mean,
It's not sacrificing.
Steve?
Steve?
Well, just growing up, I just remember as far as the rodeo is concerned, it was the Rocky Mountain Rodeo Association, but as a young boy, and those were my idols, Phil Prevost, Mick Ryan, Kelmier, Rodway, group of them, but
Yeah.
Randy, coming up, those are the guys, even though the quality or maybe the athletes is much greater now than the professionals, they were the hometown heroes in my mind. Those are the people that I wanted to be like, that inspired me to want to do things in high school rodeo, although I didn't ever arrive at those levels, in my mind, they were as great as any of the great cowboys that come today.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were, and so at the time, during the parade, hanging out at Tinks, and Cal Kirkley would come in, they were old-time cowboys, not necessarily rodeo cowboys, but those were great memories. And they never missed the rodeos.
No.
And so it was like a big reunion in a certain sense. And I thought it was great.
I'd like to make a comment, Mary. All of us have been to a lot of sporting events. We've watched them on TV. We've participated in some. But I don't think there's a more patriotic sporting event in America than rodeo. You go there and you just feel it.
You
Very
do.
patriotic.
And you have the national anthem. You have everything right there.
You even have a prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
A lot of them must do it for the love of the sport because they don't get rid of it.
That's right.
Most of them.
And cowboys are very patriotic, I think.
So, Brent, how many years did you announce the rodeo? You're kind of leaving some of this out because my growing up years and my kids' growing up years were Uncle Brent announcing the rodeo.
Geez, John, how long?
A long time.
16 years? 20 years? 20 years.
Long time.
In fact, my old horse is 26 years old. He doesn't do it anymore. He's like his owner.
It was a lot of fun.
And I can tell you story after story about announcing on horseback that is a little more dangerous than up in the box. When I first started announcing on horseback, I was announcing the rodeo for Louis Fields. And I can still remember him. He was a pickup man. And we were running around the arena and he'd yell at me, "Get in the corner! Get in the corner!" So you don't get killed. So that always stuck with me. I was a horseback one time, and a bareback horse. These bucking horses are trained to go to the pickup horse because they feel relief because the rider gets off and. And I guess this horse thought I was the pickup horse because he came at me and I turned and started running as hard as I could and he reached out and grabbed my belt with his mouth and I felt that and I kicked old Cash and we went really fast that time. Cash has saved my life more than anything else.
We're open for questions, and Mary and I will field those questions if you have any. If you don't, thanks for coming.
What's your favorite event of the
Mine?
rodeo? Yeah.
Well, years ago, when I was a youngster, I was a tie-down calf roper. And this is kind of interesting. I got my PRCA card and I started going down the road, me and Mary, when we were first married. No money. Spend our paychecks for entry fees. And I was donating every weekend. Finally, one time she says, "I don't care what you do, just catch. Just catch the calf." It took me about 20 seconds that time, but I caught it. But I kept donating. And I thought, if I'm going to love this sport of rodeo, I'm going to do something where they pay me. And so I said, I'll start using my voice. And so I started announcing, and I drive into a rodeo in a white shirt. I go up to a box that's air conditioned, and when I leave, I have a check in my hand. And a hamburger. Yeah, so that's kind of where we developed and said, yeah, if we're going to be in this sport, we want it to pay us, not we paying that every weekend. We still rope calves, but we didn't do it professionally.
I want to hear you do it.
Do what?
How you do that? Telling me, blah, 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 you know.
You mean 25 and 25 and 7 half and $30, 35, 37 half and 40. I'll do that Saturday morning at the livestock sale. Any other questions that you have? Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Yes?
Which event takes the most skill in a rodeo?
The event that takes the least amount of brains is the bull riding. Talk to a bull rider. I think the most skilled, I still think tie-down roping is the most skilled. Because, it's something you have to get off and do.
You got to get back on. There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's the scientific event. Cow cutting is the ballet of rodeo. That's what I announced back in Lincoln. Anything else? Yes.
How did you get into rodeo?
When I was a teenager, they didn't have high school rodeo, only a little bit. And when I got out of high school, I went to college and started rodeoing at BYU. And I started calf roping at BYU, and back in those days they ribbon roped, and I did that, and I did bareback riding for a couple of years, and that was hard on the body. And so I went to bulldog, and that was harder too. But anyway, John, do you have some things you want to tell us?
Thanks for setting us up. Success, that's what I have to say.
Yes.
Hey, Brent, I've known you quite a while. I remember back in was it 81 or 82, we hooked up somehow, shooting a horse or something, and you tried to teach me calf rope. I don't know if you remember that, over at your place in Midway.
Yeah.
And we got out there, and I had a pretty nice little quarter horse Arab mix, and she was pretty good. But it was a great experience taking lessons from you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. I never pursued it.
I used to rope 50 calves a day. Never got any better, but
And you
We have-
passed the tradition on to your
We did.
to your kids.
as far as announcing,
Announcing and auctioneering, and your grandkids are now rodeoing.
Yeah.
And so,
And excelling.
and yeah, they're doing well.
yeah, they are. Thank you. Anything else? Yes.
How do you think, or how do you hope the continuation of the tradition will help people understand the past a little bit better? Can you talk about the future of rodeo and what you hope?
I think the future of rodeo is just coming into its own. I think you'll see a lot more people. We've had more national exposure from the Cowboy Channel than anything, and I think people are starting to realize the West and the things that we have brought to the West. And I think that the future of rodeo is just getting better and better. There's more money now than there used to be, which gives you more cowboys. I mean, back at the national high school finals, they were roping calves in 8 seconds. That was unheard of. And if you had a 12-second run in my day, you'd get a check. I never did get one, but anyway, 8 seconds. They're bulldogging in 5 seconds. They're bulldogging in 4 seconds. Trig Madsen put on a clinic back there in the saddle bronc ride. And that's what the announcer said, didn't he?
Yeah.
He said he had 3 horses. One horse he scored 85 points on. One horse he scored 79 points. He said this kid has just it's a clinic, the way he does it. And the kid's going on a mission. He got his mission call, and he's leaving September. So
Where's he from, Rick?
he is from Morgan. His brother is PRCA now. So, and he just got back from the mission a year ago. Yes.
How do you compare yourself with the Calgary Stampede, which is the big rodeo, versus Mountain Valley Stampede?
In comparison,
They're different.
they're different in the fact that they go for, 10 days, don't they? Yeah, they're 10 days, and they have different pools, and it's a whole complicated thing. I like ours because it's simple, it's 3 days.
And fast.
And fast, And Pendleton's another one and Salt Lake had a pool system too, didn't they, John? So, maybe I'm traditional, but I like to keep it, yes.
How much does a rodeo make?
How much does it make?
Yeah, how much?
Like the Cowboys?
How much is the cash prize?
Okay.
For the Cowboys?
I don't. Stetson won 40,000.
I can give you just a little bit of history.
Okay, would you please, John?
The books. I brought them for Brent from 1956, 1957. And Heber's in here. By golly, we gave away $700 and some odd dollars. And this weekend, we'll give away over $200,000.
So that's the difference.
Yeah, big difference.
750 to 250. Wow. And I would say only 3% of the Cowboys are going down and making a living at it. Because there's a lot of Cowboys that are paying their entry fees that the toughs are taking it from them.
Donation.
Yeah.
But they're living their dream.
Yeah, they are. They're living their dream. And why not? It's all about,
I mean, I was reading an article about the Wright brothers, and some of them making the millions.
They are.
Over their career.
Over $4 million.
What about Louis' son, Casey?
Casey, he's $1 million. Over $1 million.
More than
Yep.
every year.
Yep.
He's done that.
It's hard on your body.
Yes,
That's why they retire at 28 or 32.
Yep.
And I was going to say, I think to his question, or their question about the popularity of rodeo, it's interesting where our daughter lives in Vegas, and they live near the South Point, and that place has built a whole rodeo arena in the hotel.
Oh, yes.
Outside, it's in the hotel, and that place is full.
All the time.
All the time.
It fills up with trailers and cowboys and events, and it's popular.
I had the opportunity to do the Benny and Bucking Horse and Bull Sale, and that was in South Point.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's a nice facility,
for
beautiful. Inside a hotel.
Yeah, beautiful.
And it's always sold out, when there's a rodeo event. You can't, we like to stay there because it's near where our daughter is, and if there's a rodeo event, it's sold out.
That's our home away from home.
It is.
We've stayed there for 20 years.
Mm-hmm. So it's very popular.
Yes.
Brent, with the two high schools now,
Uh-huh.
are we going to have two
No.
separate rodeos?
No.
Okay.
The club, it's Wasatch Rodeo Club,
Okay.
and it is the two combined. It's not like sports,
Okay.
like the two sports, the two high schools of sports, because it's one club that is encompassing the valley. Yeah. Which is good. Yeah. Well, it's awful. Yes.
Sorry to ask.
No, that's fine. No. That's good.
One, I'm curious exactly when the rodeo started, and two, I'd love to hear the craziest thing you've observed while there, or craziest thing that's happened to you while there.
Well, I told you one crazy thing.
You did. The horse riding.
Yeah. What was the first question?
When exactly did the rodeo start?
What year?
What year did rodeo get started?
You mean here?
Here?
Yeah.
I think it was back in the 20s, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in the 20s. It was in the 20s.
Long before we were here.
Yeah.
So,
But like I say, it was more of a, we saw a flyer that was 1935, and it had rodeo at 1 o'clock. And I think it was more calf riding and more of a gymkhana type thing, rather than a sanctioned rodeo. And another weird thing that happened to me, a lot of times when I'm announcing horseback, like in the bull riding, I'll be sitting kind of by the barrel man, and sometimes my horse knows a lot more than me. And he has saved my life many times because I've had bulls chase me. Yeah. But they're not as fast as bucking horses. So he could get out of the way pretty fast. So.
Well, thank you so much, Brent and Mary. And I'm going to play that movie, so if you guys want to stay and watch, I'll just have it going in the background. But feel free to hang out and mingle amongst you guys. It's no rush.
Is this yours, Brent?